with Mayank, Harris. Okay. Uh, can I start now?
Sir. Sir.
Is my audio clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yeah. Good afternoon to all of you. Friends, my name is Rakesh Rajpurohit. I'm working here as Senior Professor Materials Management Coordination for the past 4 months. I belong to 1989 exam of IRSS. My parent railway is South Central. I was on South Central Railway for around 10 years, Kuntikal and Secunderabad in different capacities, depot and in the headquarters or zonal office. I've also worked on DMW, North Western Railway, Western Railway, different capacities as purchase officer, as depot officer, handling procurement of electric loco items, diesel loco items, machinery and plant, EMU spares. Also worked in vigilance for around 4 years as deputy CVO on Northwestern Railway. I worked as ADRM on Bhavnagar, Western Railway for around 3 years. I would be talking to you on two topics. One is the basic part, the role of materials management on railways, the organizational structure and how it functions, what are the objectives. And also my second session would be on import of material. How does railway import material from various countries, the items, and what kind of procedure, what kind of terms are used. That also I'll be discussing in second session. First session, I would limit myself to the role and the objectives of the materials management department. Now, let me ask you, have any one of you handled contracts in your previous assignment? No? I presume that none of you have handled any contract either at the execution stage or finalization stage or maybe initial drafting stage. No. I take it as that you have no exposure. Has anybody seen any contract? Formal contract? Okay. I assume that you have none of you have seen any contract. So let me take you to the basic part. Therefrom, we derive the powers to enter into a contract as government officer. कहाँ से आती है हमें कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एग्जीक्यूशन की पावर्स? Then please look at Article 299 of the Constitution of India. Okay. Somebody read it for me. Amit, are you there? Amit Kumar?
Can I read?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you see on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Please read it loudly.
Yes. Article 299 of Constitution. 299 contracts. All contracts made in the exercise of the executive power of the Union or of a state shall be expressed to be made by the President or by the Governor of the state, as the case may be, and all such contracts and all assurances of property made in the exercise of that power shall be executed on behalf of the President or the Governor by such persons and in such manner as he may direct or otherwise.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you for that. So, what does it mean? All the contracts which we are entering into, these are expressed to be made by the president. If you look at any contract, the contract signing authority uh, would be signing, and below his signature there would be name and designation, and then below that it will be mentioned for and on behalf of the President of India. Okay? So we invite tenders and enter into contract under Article 299 of the Constitution, and therefore it is necessary that we mention for and on behalf of the President of India. Does that mean that if anything goes wrong, any court case arises or any arbitration arises out of a contract or any dispute, then is the president or governor responsible for that? No. The answer is no. Okay? The same constitution, if you read it further, it says that they shall not be personally held responsible for all these things. These will be entered, these will be entertained by the officials who have been nominated to do so. So the basis from where the government officials derive power is Article 299 of the Constitution. Now let's move further. Now you see on the screen public procurement. Okay. Public procurement, when you read this word, what comes to your mind? What is public procurement? Any response, any guess? Okay, सभी लोग it's an afternoon session, very tough. So let me speak out the name. Prateek Kumar, are you there?
Yes, sir.
क्या पब्लिक प्रोक्योरमेंट का नाम सुन के क्या आता है हमारे माइंड में? व्हाट इज पब्लिक प्रोक्योरमेंट?
Any procurement that is done by the government.
Great.
Please.
Any procurement that is done by the government. Yeah. So why it's called public procurement? Since public money is involved, we
Public
are
money.
spending taxpayers' money, so that's why called public procurement. Okay. Does it mean only procurement of goods? When we say procurement,
Services also.
services also. Great, Pratik. Thank you. So public procurement includes procurement of goods, procurement of works, and procurement of services also. So any kind of procurement uh, is called public procurement if we are say spending the public money, and when we are buying for personal use, when we are spending our personal money, then it's not public procurement. Suppose you want to buy a TV for your personal use, you go to the market straight away, choose whatever brand you like, Sony or Samsung or whatever brand you like, and then buy. Negotiate the price and decide on the spot and select the item. Can we do the same thing when we are buying for the railways? Ankit,
No, sir.
any response? हाँ बोलिए please. I'm trying to take you up. Shambhavi, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. So suppose you want to buy a TV for your hostel, can we straight away go to a shop and buy whatever brand we like, or different procedure is required?
So a different procedure would be required because it would be for the use of a greater public rather than for individual purpose. So
Okay,
sir,
great.
yes sir.
Different procedure is required. For why? Because we are spending public money, and public has a right to know, right to also
And also right to choose. Yes sir.
right to choose. Yes. Why we are going to only a particular shop? Why we are picking up only one brand? That becomes questionable if we can choose a brand, go to a particular shop and buy straight away. Okay, since public money is involved, and therefore it entails certain responsibilities on the buyer to procure it in a fair, transparent, and equitable manner. Okay? till mid, if you look at the history of say public procurement in India, till early 70s, the courts were not intervening in the manner of award of contract by government. Since then, there has been a gradual shift, and now it has been established by various judgments of the Supreme Court that the government cannot award a contract, whether for goods, services, works, or auctioning, in a hush-hush manner. It has to be done in a fair, transparent, open manner. And here, the basis is Article 14 of the Constitution, right to equality. All the citizens of the country have a right to offer against or bid against the government contracts. Therefore, we have plethora of rules, regulations, and procedures to ensure that basic spirit that it is done in a fair, transparent, equitable manner. Public money is spent in a most economic manner. Okay? That is the basis of basic principles of public procurement. So all government purchase or where we are spending public money, whether it is ministry, whether it is the department, whether these are public sector undertakings, they would be covered under the definition of public procurement. Okay? So it's basically acquisition or procurement of works, goods, and services by public bodies. Okay? So all are covered under public procurement. Now, at times there is confusion. What is a works contract? What is a service contract? What is a goods contract? But before that, some of you might be familiar, but few of you might not be familiar. May I ask what is the difference between tender and a contract?
Sir, when a tender is governed by law, then it is contract.
When a tender is governed by law, it is a contract. Slightly, somebody else, can somebody else improve it?
Tender is just an invitation to enter into some contract in
थोड़ा
future.
सा आपका माइक पास में कर लीजिए, आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
सर टेंडर सिर्फ एक इनविटेशन है किसी काम को करने के लिए हम बिडर्स
Okay.
को इनवाइट कर रहे हैं और जब
Okay.
टेंडर को वो लोग कोई भी एक बिडर उसको जब हम फाइनलाइज करके उसको मतलब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट अवार्ड कर देते हैं वो टेंडर उसको दे देते हैं तब वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का रूप ले लेता है.
Excellent. You are absolutely to the point. The tender is the process. Tendering is basically invitation of bids, invitation of offers. So we are inviting offers, and when these offers are examined, considered, and you pick up one based on whatever procedure and award the contract to him, which means he has won the invitation of tenders and he secures that work, he secures that contract. So it becomes a legal document between the buyer and the seller. Okay? So tendering is the process through which you reach the contract. So contract is the final outcome. Okay? And contract becomes a legally binding document between these two parties and is governed by Indian Contract Act. And further, there are other laws which are also governing contracts, such as Sale of Goods Act. Then further, sales tax, GST acts, they also becomes applicable in case of tenders and contracts. So tendering stage, as rightly mentioned, is initial stage, the process. Sometimes it is also that refers to the document, that is the tender document. Okay? The outcome is the contract, and contract is a legally binding document. Let's see what is the difference between goods, works, and services. This definition is given in General Financial Rules issued by Ministry of Finance, Department of Expenditure. It says that works means any new construction, addition, alteration to existing works, repairs to new old buildings, structures, and it could be minor or repair works. And any services or goods incidental to the original work is also part of works contract. There is a thin line at times between works and services, but nonetheless, this is the definition, official definition. Now, goods is a very wide definition. It includes all the articles, materials, furniture, spares, even the livestock, which means suppose you want to buy horse or dog for the RPF, they would be also covered under goods contract. Equipments, vehicles, medicine, railway stock, etc., licenses, patents, intellectual property, these are part of goods contract. And any work or services which are incidental, for example, you are purchasing a machine, it has to be installed, commissioned, then installation, commissioning, and suppose while transporting, some insurance is involved. All that will be part of the goods contract. And lastly, services means any subject matter of procurement other than goods or works except incidental to services. For example, we want to hire a vehicle and the driver is also to be provided. The fuel would be provided by the service provider. Then this hiring, wherein you have manpower, you have material, you have service, this would be covered under a service contract. Similarly, cleanliness contract. Okay, so cleaning of the station, wherein he would be providing certain cleaning material, certain disinfectants, the manpower, machine, that would be again a service contract. OBHS, I'm sure you might have become familiar by now. Onboard housekeeping services, what is provided on the trains, cleaning, etc. That is called onboard housekeeping service. These are services. Now, here in the contracts, one important thing to be kept in mind is, especially in the works and services contract, is that the head of the office is reckoned as principal employer. Okay? So there are contract law, there are labor laws such as the Minimum Wages Act to ensure that minimum wages are paid to the workers by the contractor becomes the responsibility of the principal employer also. So as principal employer, Railways being a principal employer for various contracts, it becomes our duty to see that the workers of the contractor are paid minimum wages. Okay? That becomes incumbent upon us, and for that there are various mechanisms available, and ensuring those is our responsibility. Can't wash off our hands saying that the contract is contractor's responsibility. Of course, it is his responsibility, but we are also covered under the definition of principal employer. Now, why public procurement is important is that Competition Commission of India has estimated that world over countries are spending around 15% of their GDP in public procurement. A huge amount. And in developing countries such as India, it is even more. Some estimates are 30%, but the conservative estimate also puts it around 24-25% of the GDP. It's a huge amount, and any savings in that, economizing in that, improving efficiency of that would reach the grassroots level in a better way and help the development of the country. Therefore, it becomes very important that we handle public procurement in a fair, transparent, and economical manner. Avoiding discretion or reducing discretion is again important. So, better to lay down the procedures, better to lay down various processes that are involved in decision making so that it becomes fair and transparent. Okay. Now, you see there the last line, model SOP. What does SOP stand for?
Schedule of powers.
Schedule of power. Excellent. If you have come across, then very good. Yeah. In the past, we used to have each zone used to have its own schedule of power, but since 2017 and now the latest one is 18, model schedule of power has been issued by the Railway Board, and that is applicable to all the zones. The GM, of course, has powers to delegate other things which are not covered here, and within the ambit of model SOP, he can delegate it further. Okay. Model SOP, I'll just show it to you. Tells you which level of officer can do what work, okay, what kind of sanction he can give, what kind of approvals he can give. Suppose he is issuing a tender, then who is competent to issue the tender of say 2 crore value, who is competent to say award the contract of 2 crore value. All that is covered under model SOP. Okay, I'll just show it to you. I just the front page and maybe the index so that you become familiar. Of course, there will be a class in the later part. Is it visible? Can you
Yes,
see
sir.
this?
Visible.
Model schedule of pass 2018. Yeah. Okay. So forward by the then Chairman Railway Board, Mr. Srini Lohani. He has simplified a lot of things, and there is a lot of delegation was done in 2017 and 18. The view to expedite decision making by the railways. These are, it is in 7 parts, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and starting with works matter, medical matters, miscellaneous, stores, commercial establishment, security, etc. etc. At your leisure, you can just scan it, what kinds of items are there, like works matter will have who can approve the work, who can uh, accord technical sanction to detailed estimate. Then in case of excess over estimates, who is competent, material modification, can invite the tenders, can sign the contract. So there are different subheads are there. Whenever you are free, you can go through it. It is available on the website of Railway Board as well as different zonal railways. So I'll not go into it. Just I am sharing that this kind of document is available. In case of doubt, please do refer to the schedule of power to ascertain whether you are competent to do it or not. Now, there was a mention of discretion. Okay, so suppose we have invited a tender and 3 vendors have participated for 3 different locations: Alambagh, Shakur Basti, and Jagadri. Now, can you tell me who is first lowest for Alambagh? इसका ऑफर सबसे कम है?
Vendor 1 का सर. Vendor 1.
One का sir.
Vendor 1, great. So if he qualifies, if you meet your requirement, then the order should go to vendor 1 in the normal circumstances. Now tell me for Jagadri, whom should we award the contract? All are eligible technically, financially.
Vendor 1 और vendor 3
1 and 3.
1 and 3. तो क्या करेंगे ऐसी सिचुएशन में?
दोनों में भी सर हम कंपैरिजन करेंगे.
Can you say it again? Bit louder.
We will again
दोनों का बराबर है तो क्या करेंगे? रेट 2 का बराबर है, दोनों क्वालिफाई कर रहे हैं.
सर एक ऑप्शन फिर से दिया जाएगा रेट लो करने के लिए.
ओके, रेट लो करने के लिए ऑप्शन दिया जाएगा. एनी अदर रेस्पॉन्स?
Sir, maybe if we have a past experience with one of the vendors, might be preferred.
Okay. Here the quantity is 6,000.
Sir,
There are 2
reverse
options.
tendering.
Yeah. हाँ बोलिए.
Sir, reverse
Yes.
tendering.
हाँ go ahead.
So we can do reverse tendering if both the parties have quoted same rate.
Okay. Can do reverse auction. Okay. Now there are 2-3 things that are to be seen here. The responses are varying, so there are different options available. Now first thing to be seen is, while issuing the tenders, did we specify any clause that solves this problem, that addresses this issue, that if there are 2 offers who are L1, then the decision would be taken in this manner. Okay, the first thing to be seen is there any clause related to such situation? Suppose the clause is there, then go as per the clause stipulated in the tender document. Okay, that is first. Second option is, suppose nothing is mentioned, then you have now two vendors at par, and the quantity of 36,000 is divisible. Okay, you can award it 50-50 to both of them. Okay, that is second option, where nothing is mentioned, tendering stage. And third could be the third kind of situation could arise where you are buying, say, a single machine where it is not possible to divide the quantity. Okay, I'll take you to the next slide where such example is given. Now, reverse auction is not done where the rates are reasonable, or reverse auction is resorted to at the initial stage itself, wherein we define very clearly that the tendering process would be based on reverse auctioning. Okay? So that decision has to be taken before the tendering is done. Okay? Once you have invited the tenders, opened the tenders, then looking at the offers, now you can't change your process. You have to either discharge and then re-invite. Okay? But that option also requires certain care. Now, here what happens, you can't divide. You're buying a machine. Now look at Jagadri. Cost of machine is 10 lakhs and annual maintenance cost is 1 lakh rupees. Okay? Vendor 2 has also quoted 10.5 and 0.5 lakhs. So their offer is also 11 lakhs. Both are lower here. Now here you can't divide. When we buy the machine, we buy a machine with 2 years warranty in normal circumstances and 5 years maintenance contract. So that you have assured maintenance for next 7 years. Otherwise, if you don't mention these kind of things, the tendering stage they don't take care, then somebody can offer you the basic machines at a low price and then subsequently fleece you when you are entering into a maintenance contract, since you have to go to the manufacturer only for maintenance contract. So here both are at par. Jagadri, vendor 1 and vendor 2, they have the same rate, and you can't make it half machine. Okay. So here, if criteria is mentioned in the tender document, then it's fine. Go ahead with that. Nothing is mentioned, then you have to look at commercial parameters, performance characteristics, okay, the past performance, compare, record proper reasons, and then choose whosoever is better. Okay. So here, non-financial parameters such as the commercial conditions, such as the past experience, such as the turnover, all have to be looked at, and then a judicial decision, fair and transparent decision has to be taken. Now, what is the role of the materials management department? What kind of items are needed? All would depend on what for you need the material. On railways, you have wide variety of assets. You have 3 gauges. Okay, and we are running passenger, freight, container services. Traction is also diesel traction. You have electric traction. Then you have EMUs, DMUs. Signaling, you have mechanical, electrical, electronic kinds of signaling. Okay, and other services you have AC and non-AC services on the train. Electric locos are also a wide variety of electric locos are there, different horsepowers. Okay, and diesel locos on the same line. Coaches you have ICF, LHB, wagons, box and containers, and various other types. The more kinds of variety you have, the more would be spares needed for maintaining these, because all these assets would require regular maintenance, and during maintenance you would be changing a lot of spares, you would be replacing a lot of items. Wider the variety, you need to keep inventory of all the items. Okay? Since the running and maintenance organization would need various kinds of spares at various times, various locations, and all have to be met with, otherwise your assets would lie idle. Tell me, what is peculiar for the material that we need on railways? Any peculiarity that comes to your mind? You want to keep spare parts for running the railways. What kind of peculiarity is there that you can come across? First, since the variety is huge, how to maintain number of pairs or inventories. Okay. Around 1.9 lakh items are stocked on the railways at different locations. Total number of stock items that are needed on regular basis to maintain various services. And the problem with these items is most of these items are railway specific. Vishal, glass and most of the items are not available off the shelf, and therefore you need longer time to manufacture and supply. Therefore, when you are entering into a contract, the supplier will rarely give you extra. Okay? You would need 3 to 4 months time or maybe longer time to manufacture and supply. That time period has to be kept in view. Suppliers are limited since these are railway specific items. Everybody doesn't make these items. Another important thing is maintaining continuous flow of material. Continuous supply is very, very important. And for that, you may have to keep adequate buffer stock or safety stock. Because of long lead, your inventory levels could go high. Then the railway system is spread across the nook and corner of the country. There are more than 7,000 stations, large number of units that maintain various assets of the railways. For example, you have push depots, you have depots, you have electric loco sheds, you have diesel loco sheds, signaling workshops, signaling stores, depots, and so on. The one is variety, and second is the location. They are located at far-flung places, and reaching supplies to them becomes very, very critical. Now, because of so many items and various kinds of maintenance activities, demand forecasting becomes quite critical. Variation in the requirement can take place. The consumption can fluctuate very widely and cause issues such as stockouts and inventory levels. And of course, railways are passing through a rough phase, and budget constraints are very, very severe. Now, materials management is a technique concerned with planning, organizing, control of flow of material from initial purchase stage to the destination stage. It includes right from the assessment of demand till the delivery to the final consignment. Other important aspects of materials management are inventory management. Inventory is how much you are holding in your stock, how much in value terms, and it is essential as to ensure the continuous availability of the material. Without inventory, you can't manage in running and maintenance operation, and therefore holding inventory is important. But how much you hold is another important thing. How do you ensure with lower inventory levels and ensure continuous availability? And budget constraint I already discussed with you. Now, as far as the role of materials management in the profitability of any organization is concerned, materials play very important role and spends significant amount of budget on procurement of material. So if the procurement is done in a sensible, efficient, and economical manner, then it is possible to reduce expenditure on material, reduce expenditure on blocking of capital by way of holding inventory, and improve the profitability. Now, when we look at the profitability and try to optimize the inventory levels, there are two costs which are important. One is called cost of material. At what price we are buying? That is cost of material. And second one is cost on material, which is an indirect cost. For example, to buy a product worth 5,000 rupees, if our process takes 4,000 rupees in issuing the tender, opening the tenders, awarding the contract, then the ordering cost is very high. So controlling the ordering cost by process re-engineering or by cutting down the unnecessary steps is very important. And apart from ordering, you have distribution cost, you have inventory carrying cost. Holding inventory uh, is a serious issue, blocks the inventory, and therefore inventory carrying cost also needs to be. This will be discussed in detail, inventory carrying cost and how the optimum levels of stock can be determined and maintained by another faculty. I'm not going into detail, but I'm only mentioning the cost of material is not only important, cost on material is also important, and both have to be optimized to reduce the total cost. So, the integrated concept of materials management covers start from the planning stage, selection of source, purchasing, stocking in the warehouses or godowns, inventory management, distribution. Okay, so the whole gamut of planning to distribution is part of materials management integrated concept. How the planning is done, who projects the demand. The planning phase is done by individual zonal railway or production unit. Sourcing means choosing the source. Are we buying from open source or we have certain restrictions? Let me tell you, most of the items are open source, whereas certain safety critical items needed for rolling stock or track, they would have certain pre-qualification of the vendors, such as the vendor should be uh, approved, vendor should be verified by, say, RDSO. Prior uh, inspection and prior vendor certification becomes important for safety items, because we don't want to buy from open market where quality could be an issue. Prior vendor approval could be one of the restrictions in certain safety critical items. Now, purchasing is done mostly by the zonal railways from the zonal headquarters, where the purchase office is situated, and there would be a number of warehouses or stores depots all across the zone. There are two kinds of stores depots. One are called captive depots, and the other one are mainly general stores depots. Captive depots are attached to a work center. For example, there is a workshop. Here you take example of Western Railway. There is a coaching workshop in Lower Parel, Mumbai. So the coaching workshop will have a feeding depot, Lower Parel stores depot attached to it, which caters to the requirement of the workshop. Okay. On the similar line, there is electric loco shed at Valsad and Baroda. So both these sheds will have again attached stores depot. They cater to the requirement of electric loco. The diesel loco shed at, say, Sabarmati, diesel loco shed at Ratlam, there will be attached depots. Apart from that, there will be general stores depots such as, say, Mahalakshmi in Mumbai, which caters to the general requirement of various users across the divisions. Okay. Really, Sabarmati would cater to the requirement of 3 or 4 divisions for general items, for example, linen, okay, chemicals, okay, where the users are spread over the zone and they need to be supplied with essential spares and consumables. In all, if you look at the metro picture, there are around 264 depots across Indian Railways, talking around 1.9 lakh items. And these all are on an integrated platform called IEMMS, Internet-based Materials Management System. And I'll show you the home page where you can access the various depots and their inventory levels. Inventory control, ensuring that whatever we are holding in stock is the optimum level, neither too less nor excessive, so that it blocks the inventory. That monitoring is done jointly by zonal headquarters and the depots. ensuring the distribution to the final ultimate consignee, the job of the depots. Earlier, we used to have train services, special trains used to be run, material trains, for distribution of material once in a month or once in a quarter. But that has been discontinued. Now payment is by road. Bills are distributed, various consignees, various users by road. Now, the purchase is entered into, the purchase contract is entered into by the zonal headquarter, indicating where to be supplied, how much to be supplied, when to be supplied. Then accordingly, the vendor directly supplies to the nominated stores. The goods could be pre-inspected or could be inspected on receipt. And after they pass through the quality test, they are accepted and taken into stock and then distributed to various users. Now, this whole process is digitized, barring one or two steps. So that also can be seen through IMMS portal. Any questions, any doubts so far? And I'll just show you the homepage or the website of procurement. Then take for 5 minutes that you can freshen up. This homepage of e-procurement visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the Indian Railways electronic procurement system. IREPS.gov. This was launched somewhere, and after that there has been a lot of updates on this. Initially, it was done only for the materials management part, wherein the process of tendering was on this portal. But now it has been linked to the whole database. Now even the demand generation, then demand scrutiny, of tender inquiries, then finalization of the tender, award of tender, all is done electronically. The receipt of goods again is online. The acceptance, bill passing, everything has been to the online portal through online board only. Okay, so this portal is used now for past 3 or 4 years. Now this is the same portal is used for issue of the works tenders also, and works contract are finalized. Similarly, services also, same portal, services tenders are handled. Okay. And this is linked to the payment portal of the railways, IPAS, and thereby the documents can be shared. You can look at the auction also through this website. The tenders here, works, goods, services can be seen here. Various search engines are available. You can search which railway is buying what items at what rates. Okay, so that all database is very, very intact. This requires digital signature certificate is required for logging into it, and for uh, say submission of tenders or opening of tenders, all is secure system. Okay, so you can have a short break now. Maybe when you return back, I'll tell you about the scrap disposal and other organizational structure of the material plan. Have a short break of 5 minutes. Come back. Yeah, are we back?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, great. So this is the portal where even the inventory levels, the details about who is using what items, all these details can be seen through this IMMS icon. Okay, so one has to log in and then get the details. This system is available on the 24/7, anytime anybody can check. Tenders, material position, even the auctions which are conducted for sale, everything is through the same portal. Come to know more about it later on. I'm switching back to PPT. Generate various spares, various old items that have become unserviceable and they needs to be cleared. And the quantum of such waste products or such old spares, broken spares is huge and needs to be cleared. There are two important things that scrap needs to be examined or to be monitored. Is the advantage is that it clears our house, the garbage is cleared, and secondly, it earns some revenue also. Has twin advantage of cleaning up the home and then also getting some money out of it. The scrap comes from various units like scrap when it becomes old, the head is worn out or the flange is say eroded, then it needs to be replaced. Whenever the replacement takes place or tracking will take place, there would be the old track, old sleepers, old fittings which have become say unserviceable, not usable. Then unserviceables are segregated and disposed of. Similarly, the coaches also, wagons also, locomotives also, once they have outlived their lives, normal life, they need to be disposed of, cleared off. Now, all such spares, all such items, the huge variety that needs to be cleared off. This comes under scrap disposal is again another important function performed by the materials department. How much do you think railways would be generating scrap annually? Any guess?
Sir, around 4,000 crores.
Yeah, great. Around 4,000 crores. Your guess is quite correct. Last year we have sold around 4,200 crore worth of scrap. Of course, this includes whatever has been recycled. Because we do recycle at rail wheel factory. The old wheels, even old rails, old bogies, heavy melting scrap is recycled, but their capacity is limited. And despite utilization, you still are left with scrap, and that is to be disposed of. Disposal is done earlier in the from 5 years ago. This was done in a manual fashion. What comes to your mind when somebody says the auction chal raha hai? What kind of scene comes before you? ऑप्शन का करके माइंड में क्या पिक्चर आती है?
Sir, bidding.
Yeah, bidding. One fellow is standing and shouting, "1 lakh, 1 lakh, 2." And then if somebody exceeds, says 1,10,000, then he starts shouting 1,10,000. Anybody who can increase with this? Okay, so it keeps on rising. The prices keeps on rising, and when the highest price is reached and nobody else is ready to exceed that, then the the authority who is conducting the auction may either uh, clear him winner or withdraw the lot. In railways case, we also used to have similar kind of auctions, manual auctions, wherein 100, 150 the scrap merchants would be coming to attend the auction, and then auction would be conducted by a stores officer assisted by an accounts officer, and then at the end of the auction, whatever are sold off, the buyers would remit the earnest money and balance money they would pay later on. Now, this had certain disadvantages because it has to be conducted physically at one place. Limited vendors can come, and then there are issues of cartelization, local mafia issues also would be involved, and there could be entry barriers to new fellows. Now, that has been resolved to a great extent by having electronic online auction. Now we don't conduct any physical auction, done online. Whatever are sold, they are the list is displayed or is available at least 7 to 10 days in advance, and on the day of the auction, buyers can online log in and bid their lots. The identity of the buyers is not disclosed at the time of bidding to ensure that there is no bid rigging, no cartel formation, and then once it is sold, then only the identity is revealed. This kind of process is followed, and the site is same. I have shown you. Here you can see where the auctions are going on. That can be seen even without logging in. What items are being sold, that can also be seen. But if you want to participate, then you have to have a vendor registration, and then whatever documents are required to be submitted first time. Once you've registered, then you can participate in any of the auction all over the Indian Railways. No need for physical presence. All payments are done online, and then only for delivery somebody has to come and pick up the lot. So scrap disposal again plays very important role, especially when there is funds crunch. Then this helps railways. So the items which are heavy in nature, difficult to transport, for example, PV, these are not brought to the nominated stores depots or scrap depots. These are kept at site and sold. Certainly, rolling stock, old which are to be sold, they are also not brought. But small items, miscellaneous items, they are collected at the scrap depot. Then, after a reasonable size is reached, then these are sold off at the auction. Now, let's look at the organizational structure at the railway board's level. As you know, chairman and CEO, he is the overall in charge. Then stores department comes under member traction and rolling stock, assisted by additional member railway stores. Then of course principal EDs, advisors, executive directors, as is in other departments on the similar fashion. There is a supporting structure. Same thing, a pictorial way. What function does the railway board stores director perform? First and foremost is framing policies related to what? Related to procurement of goods. Okay, be followed by zonal railways and production unit. Railway is such a vast organization. There have to be certain policies, certain rules to be framed for invitation of tenders, for assessment of demand. So those activities are done by railway board stores directorate. Other coordination of other activities is also important. Then the next important function is managing the inventory. Okay? One should not hold excessive inventory and block the money, and therefore ensuring efficient inventory control on various zones and PUs is again done by the railway board stores directorate. Preparation of materials budget is again another important function. Then board also acts as centralized purchase agency for certain items. Example, complete units of rolling stock, import of wheels, axles. Since we do not have complete capacity in India, so still wheels have to be imported. Whatever we are not able to manufacture in India, that is done by the railway board. Railways is again one of the largest consumers of steel, various kinds of steel. So that procurement is done by the railway board. We also supply steel to wagon builders. The purchase is done by the railway board. Oils, lubricants, again very high value items. These are purchased centrally by the railway board. Coordinates with the supply of steel by having an iron and steel cell at Calcutta. Interacts with the steel producers and then monitors post-contract activities, coordinates supply to wagon builders, zonal railways, production units. That job is also done by board's office at Calcutta. On zonal railway, the department is headed by a principal chief materials manager. is of the rank of HAG, Higher Administrative Grade, under General Manager, assisted by SAG officer called CMM, Chief Materials Manager, Deputy CMM, Deputy Chief Materials Manager, A grade or Selection Grade Officer, then SMM, Senior Scale Officer, and Assistant Materials Manager, AMM. The zone has 3 levels. One is headquarter level, which mostly handles the purchase, mostly handles the policies, monitoring part. Then there is a divisional level, and then there is a depot level setup. Headquarter handles all the bulk purchases by various divisions, various field units. Okay. Compilation and then consolidation and then issue of tenders and finalization of contract. Okay. It coordinates with depots, divisions, sets targets for them, performance targets, monitors inventory control, also the scrap disposal, finalizing the auction plan for each unit, and of course digitization is also coordinated by headquarters. At divisional level, the department is headed by senior DMM, which is Senior Divisional Materials Manager, and senior scale officer, he is heading, he is called Divisional Materials Manager or DMM, and then of course the junior scale officer, ADMM. Then they have a small divisional depots also to cater to all small requirements. The division coordinates with headquarters and the feeding depots. Also, it purchases non-stock or small sword requirement of various users within his power, and arranges auction of scrap. Okay. Most of the railways, the auction is also done by division. In the past, it was not done by divisions. Now, divisions have been delegated with this power. Apart from the division, there are extra divisional units such as diesel stores depot, workshop stores depots, general stores depots. They are headed by a senior scale or J grade officer called Deputy Chief Materials Manager. The captive depots are located near the major consumption point, for example, workshop or shed. And other than those attached depots, we have general stores depots which cater to maybe 2 divisions or 3 divisions, arranges scrap disposal, collection and disposal. These are some of the statistics. Example, last year electronic tenders worth 98,000 crores of estimate were floated, and the number of vendors registered is more than 1.15 lakhs. Around 1 lakh lots of scrap were sold off, amounting to rupees 4,200 crores. The bidders, those are registered for sale of scrap, is around 3,700. Of course, the work tenders are also picking up. More than 35,000 crores worth of work tenders have been. I've given the link where these data is available. Now, what are the basic functions of purchase department in zonal headquarters? It begins with the planning, recognition of need, what is needed, how much is needed, and ensuring that repeated purchases and unnecessary rush orders are not entered into. Important thing to be seen while purchasing is that the need should be described accurately by well worked out description and specification, so there is no confusion. What you need, same thing is understood by the supplier. And after invitation of tender, once the need has been defined, tenders are invited and a source is chosen, duly fixing the correct price of that has to be seen. After the source selection, contract is entered into with direction where to supply the material. It will directly be supplied by the vendor to the nominated stores depot. Follow-up contract management is also looked after by the headquarters. Therefore, when he receives the goods, he would be inspecting, and then is meeting the quality standards, he would be accepting and clearing the bills for payment. Maintenance of record, now online, computerization of various activities. Transparency is very, very important. The electronic tendering system, transparency has reached another height. It has become very transparent for the vendor to see who is quoting what rate after the tenders are opened, and who is getting the contract. Procurement site I have shown you. Now, dispose depots or warehouse or stocking depot, whatever you call, their function is basically receiving the goods. First, they will be projecting their estimate. Then, once the contract is entered into by the zonal headquarter or purchase office, the goods will be supplied directly to the depot. After inspection, they will be taken into stock, ensuring safe storage. Then, depending on the need from various users, supplying it to various users, arranging transport. Then they also handle most of the depots, which are general stores depots, also handle scrap disposal, receiving scrap, sorting it, making lots, selling it, delivering it. That is again part of the store depot. And this is handled through MMIS on the same portal. It has various modules of depot, finance, user module, etc. Let me also tell you some of the activities, those are discontinued, which were there earlier. They are now no more there. Can you see this ticket on the screen? देख पा रहे हो?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is called printed card ticket. Okay, for more than 100 years, these kinds of tickets are printed in our railways own printing presses. We used to have around